Hello, good people. This is Spot of Nerd. And if you've noticed, we're actually bringing out new content quicker, faster, smarter, longer, harder. Not really longer, because it's actually going to be pretty short, because just wanted to touch on a few things, and then that way we can kind of move on, talk about some other crap, because let's face it, yeah, you know me. People call me a negative Nancy, pessimistic Nancy, whatever that word is, whatever that metaphor is. But I'm also just being real. And you can never, ever deny that. So, optimistically, I think I'm going to start doing a little bit more on that side of things because there are things to be optimistic about. And number one of those, just recently, we'll just kind of blurt out some things that I kind of wanted to address. Obviously, one of the big things I want to address is the new Ahsoka series. If you haven't seen it already, you are a lucky one. But there actually is some positive things going on currently with the world. One of which being Target continues to lose billions of dollars. And it's likely because of their whole agenda towards children. I won't go into the specifics. I'm pretty sure if you've paid the slightest bit of attention to the world and news revolving around Target, you can kind of put two and two together. But the bottom line is, you can watch one of my biggest favorite podcast channel news person ever, Steven Crowder, Louder with Crowder. He always points out it's quite amazing how, I want to say, he always says it was years ago or decades, whatever it might have been, without mentioning what, if, when, how, where, there was always this phrase of, we're not coming for your children. There's no reason we're coming for your children. There's no need for anything revolving around your children. Funny how everything is revolving around your children. And I don't think, regardless of what side you're on or what your viewpoints, so on and so forth, it is one of those things that I don't think anybody realized, even the government themselves, as evil as they are, realized the pushback that you would have once you started going after, quote unquote, the children. And I am a huge supporter. I will never ever shy away from the fact that if you're 18 years or older, if you're an adult and you're sound mind and you're just kind of being respectful and just being a human being, living your own life, then go do whatever the fuck it is you want to do. Obviously, just make sure you're not murdering people, harming people, being hatred towards people, blah, blah, blah. Just as long as you're being respectful, you do you and I'll do me. You go after kids, that's where we're going to have a problem. And no, I'm not saying violence is the answer and all this other negative stuff, but we will very, very much make it known that leave the children out of it. Let them live their lives. Let them develop. Let them grow up to be their own young adult selves so that they can make the decisions on their own. You don't need to make it for them. It's really that simple. Now, to some that is rocket science, but again, you can't get to everybody, so we won't go down that road. But the bottom line is, just kind of rounding that corner back to the whole Target thing, $15 billion is, I would think, is quite a lot of money. Don't you think? I mean, that's a fucking shit ton of fucking money. And it's going down the drain. So I'm excited about that. I don't know about you, but I think it's actually kind of good because it's basically proving that what we're doing is working. So yeah, I'm all for it. Keep it up. Switching gears a little bit, again, kind of on the sadder note, you know, if you look at Jacksonville, Florida. Now, it is never good when something like that happens. If you're not aware, there was a very unfortunate shooting, and thankfully a pile of shit that was the one that did it is now dead. And by that, because again, just look it up. Obviously, this was definitely done on hate and everything in between. But what the main, again, you got to be so careful now with how you address these situations, because as much as we want peace and, I guess, calmness, whenever these situations happen, it is 24/7 news coverage, social media coverage, and quite frankly, it's actually quite sickening and disgusting in which the narratives and agendas that are pushed, obviously in relation to hatred, discrimination, gun violence, so on and so forth. But we always seem to come back to the same argument. And that argument can be, I mean, let's be real, depending on who you are, it can be many different things. For me specifically, for a lot of us, is, right, well, you're focusing on everything in relation to the skin color, to the following, to this, to that. Anytime it's on the other side, it's crickets. For example, let me remind you about Nashville, Tennessee, and the individual that shot up the Christian school that took children's lives. Remember how we don't get to know a single thing about that manifesto? They could not wait to tell you the manifesto that was released in Jacksonville. You could tell, media news like CNN, they could not get that manifesto out quick enough. And you'll also know that anytime you see a news channel right now, it's always white man did this, white man did this, white man did this, white man did this. Any other time, and it's apologies saying we apologize because we missed. What it came down to is this person killed children deliberately, and they were apologizing for the shooter. How fucked up is that? It's just, I can't even put the words together, the level of fucked up. But yet, whenever it's a white man, it's 24/7. It's news 24/7. They could not put Nashville, they could not quiet that quick enough. Just like I've mentioned in previous podcasts with Maui and Hawaii. It's interesting that when it doesn't drive their narrative, when it doesn't drive their agendas, they shut that shit down quicker than you can say conspiracy theorist. It's disgusting. Especially when they also, we don't need to go down that road right now because obviously we've gone down many times before and we will go down it many times in the future. The whole gun violence it's a crock of shit is what I'm getting at, the agenda. Guns do not get up like Toy Story, Buzz and Woody, and kill people. People kill people. They just happen to use an asymmetric device, aka a gun. And I'm probably using the wrong word, but the bottom line is, a gun does not know it's a gun. It's not symbiotic. It doesn't know its existence. A gun is used to defend yourself for protection. I'm sure there's other uses like hunting and things, but the bottom line is, a gun does not get up with legs and go and shoot people. No, somebody is holding that gun, and that person is deciding to harm somebody else. Specifically in this situation. Hopefully, the only time you ever have to use a gun is when you are trying to defend yourself. Because you'll notice, obviously minus the rare occasion, usually what stops a bad person with a gun is a good person with a gun. It is not rocket science. And I will simply leave it at that. But all I would say is, just stop believing this crap. You are not being hunted, certain groups or individuals in the world. If you really want to talk about that, tell you what, look outside of the United States. Look at Africa right now. Look at the farmers that are being massacred. We'll just say that, because obviously if I go into details, I might go down a path I don't really want to go down. But the bottom line is, just Google or go to DuckDuckGo, because if anything, Google's not going to tell you. Just Google or DuckDuckGo farmers in Africa and see what comes up. And if your mind isn't blown, then quite frankly, I don't know what it will take. But again, we'll simply leave it there. We'll talk more about that, clearly, more than likely in the future. So, yeah, you kind of know where I'm leaving off on that. But let's wrap it around. Let's finish it up with, I don't know where to begin when you're talking about Ahsoka, the new Disney series that is currently streaming on Disney Plus. You have to think at this point they are truly doing it on purpose. And what I mean by that is they are the destruction of Star Wars. I've already said it, many people have said it before. Star Wars is dead. There is no ifs, ands, or buts. Star Wars is dead. And this Ahsoka show is just proving it once more that they do not give a fuck about the fan base. If you enjoyed the Clone Wars and if you enjoyed Rebels, you were introduced to one of the greatest characters ever by Star Wars and Lucasfilm, and that was Ahsoka Tano. You can actually go back on this channel. I actually made I did an episode where we just talked about Ahsoka Tano and how much of a badass character she is, because she is. It's fucking amazing. So when I think it was like a couple years ago now, you got the news that they were going to do a live action Ahsoka, and we were going to get that first kind of tidbit of her live action in The Mandalorian. We also got a little bit in Boba Fett, and it was absolutely amazing. Everybody was like, hell yeah, give her own show. It's going to be fucking amazing. Lo and behold, just like with everything related to Disney and Disney Plus, and obviously really the parks included, they are destroying it on purpose. Now, I don't need to go into the synopsis of the show. There's only been 2 episodes released so far. There's only going to be 8 episodes of the season, but there's a level of dull and boring from this series that you simply can't create unless you did it on purpose. This show makes anything else better. You could watch flies flying around a pile of shit, and it would have been more entertaining than these first 2 episodes of Ahsoka. And it is so cringe, and it's so sad to watch that one of your most beloved characters is just being literally shot out from your back door and flushed down the toilet. Because they could have done something so magical here. It's like Kenobi. I've said this many times before, and I'll say it many times in the future. They could have done something so incredible with these characters, especially in a live action sense. But instead, they just shit right all over their face. And they didn't even ask for it. So, would I tell you to go watch it? No, I really wouldn't. In fact, I'd probably tell you to go rewatch the Clone Wars and Rebels, because at least during those series, they cared. They cared about story. They cared about writing, speech, direction, cinematography, the character. They made you fall in love with what Star Wars is and forever used to be. And it isn't anymore. It really isn't. The Star Wars you know, the Star Wars you knew is dead. The only way, the true only way that will ever get redeemed is very simple, and it's, you can watch, there's a channel, Nerdrotic, with some fellow folks that are on his kind of group. The only way you redeem this is you shut it down. You shut Lucasfilm down, you shut Star Wars down, you let it burn out for a couple years, and then you come back and you basically reboot the entire franchise. Because what you're doing now is ultimately the destruction of Star Wars. It really, there's no negative, there's no woe is me drama. No, it's, the bottom line is, this is the end of Star Wars. George Lucas, whenever he passes, will roll in his grave as the greatest mistake of his life was selling it to Disney. The greatest mistake he will ever make is giving his dream to the devil, in my view. And it just breaks my heart. It really, really does break my heart. So it's just my 2 cents on the show. I'm sure I'm not the only one. If you enjoyed it, I'd be curious why. Tell me, literally in the comments. You know, I would love to know what made you go, yeah, this show was good. What was great about it? I'm not trying to put anybody down if you did enjoy it. I simply want to know why, or if, or how, or when. Do I hope it gets better? Will I continue to watch the show? Yeah, I'm not dumb. I'm not going to tell you, no, I'm not going to watch the show. Of course I'm going to watch it. But the bottom line is, I'm not expecting anything else other than crap for the rest of this season. And that's just the fact. It's not negative. It's not woe is me. No, it's just fact. It's going to be crap. There's nothing else to say about it. So with all of that said, I do really appreciate everybody for watching and listening to this podcast and this channel, and watching everything. You know, we recently, as I've mentioned, we did the San Diego Comic-Con, which was a blast and had a lot of great support behind it. So super duper in the pooper would appreciate if y'all could subscribe, like, comment, follow everywhere you can. It really would mean a lot to me. You know, I've been doing this for years, and I'd be lying if I said it wasn't about the numbers, but it is about the numbers, because I do believe right now, especially with the messages that we're talking about, you know, we're talking more on the politics, more of the real world stuff. More of us need to speak out. And I know there is a bazillion of us out there. And I know you're afraid. I know we're worried about, you know, you're tiptoeing around everything. But the bottom line is, you can do it without having to do anything detrimental. As he touches wood. You can't. You still live in a free country. Even though it might not seem like it. You do still live in a free country. You have the right to free speech. You just have to be respectful. You have to be real, you have to prove facts, and you have to speak truth. The more they push back, it just means the more you're right. It's really that simple. Anyway, thank you all so much for listening and watching. We will see you guys next time. Later, y'all.